video game music theory.
Relic Forest from the very underrated soundtrack of Pokemon Colosseum is a magical piece to me, and a lot of that can be chalked up to my nostalgia, but a lot of that is just it's a really well-composed piece. For starters, this piece uses odd time signatures in a way I really love. Not to provide like some kind of unique groove or to disorient the listener or to get at a proggy aesthetic, but to simply grant the music a chance to breathe. This piece is mostly in 3/4, but in the first section it actually goes between 3/4 and 4/4. You could count this as 7/4, but I wouldn't. To me it feels like 2 bars of 3/4 and the second bar just has an extra beat of rest. This section ends with a bar of 3/4, and then an even longer bar of 5/4, to give 1 beat to breathe, and then 1 beat to pick up into the next phrase. The rest of this piece stays in 3/4 with some tempo changes. Now I have to talk about the harmony of this piece. It's simple, yet it's so beautiful to me. The A section is just F major 7 to E minor 7, 4 and 3. Which you may recognize from this, or this, or this, or this. What really gives this progression its character is the 7ths, and Relic Forest hammers on them. The B section is pretty much the same progression, but up a 4th, and marks a move to F major, in which the rest of the piece stays. But Mr. Tsukasa Tawada didn't leave it there. The melody hammers on the major 7th, as well as the heartbreaking sharp 11th on the B flat chord. And it just kills me every time I hear it. Like, that E could fit perfectly beautifully on the F major 7 chord, and we've been chilling with it, but nah, it's a sharp 11. This section ends with a hopeful A major resolution, which slides into the 3rd and final section, which is resolutely in F major, and dances between beautifully extended B flat and D minor chords. This 3rd section ends with a very classical cadential 6/4 to loop the piece. I love how a C chord finally resolves to F for the very first time in the piece, but that F isn't even the 1 chord anymore, it's the 4 chord. Makes for a perfect loop that's just satisfying without sounding like the piece is ended. What a piece, man. It balances hope and melancholy so well. I love this one. Alright, let's look at how Hyrule Circuit puts the Zelda theme in the aesthetic of Mario Kart 8's brand of jazz fusion. First, let's take a broad look at the original Zelda theme. If you want to take a closer look at the Zelda theme, I highly recommend 8-Bit Music Theory's video on the topic. The link's in the description. The original Zelda theme is all about that mode mixture and harmonic adventure, lots of flat 7s and flat 6s and even flat 3, all from the parallel minor, in this case B flat minor, as well as a flat 2 to 1, borrowed from B flat Phrygian. And to give a sense of hope and heroism, each section ends with a nice and bright dominant 2 to 5 to a major 1. The biggest harmonic surprise are these E something chords. Though what that chord really is doesn't matter, as they're more just big dissonant setups for these 5 chords. Now, Hyrule Circuit makes some strong changes to the harmony to steer the Zelda theme in a more jazz fusion direction. The obvious one is more extensions. These 1 and flat 7 chords both gain 9s. The flat 6 chord gains a major 7th almost every time it's played, etc, etc. But where we can really learn are the chords that are outright different from the original Zelda theme. By the way, Hyrule Circuit is an A flat instead of the original Zelda theme's B flat, so there's going to be a lot of flats. Rather than the strong and classical 5 chord to end the intro, we get a soulful and fusion staple D flat over E flat, or the 4 chord over the 5th. This is called a slash chord. I love this decision. It almost feels disrespectful to the original Zelda theme in a funny way. Like, yeah, that 5 chord is iconic and all, but what if we just... Like a jazz kid trying to improve on Beethoven by adding altered extensions to all the 5 chords. Anyways, this 4 over 5 chord is also used to resolve to the flat 3 chord, giving a stronger 5-1 movement in the bass. The next bar has a big change too. Here, Hyrule Circuit doubles the original harmonic rhythm to 2 chords per bar and gives us a jazzier B-flat half diminished to A major 7 to A-flat minor. This retains the flat 2 to 1 that is so important for this part, but gives us a half diminished 2 chord to give us the feeling of a minor 2-5. And it also lets the bass continue to walk down chromatically from the preceding chord. This descending bass continues to a C flat over G flat. I know, I'm sorry. Which moves to the unchanged dominant 2 to 5. The next big change comes on those E something chords. Rather than the original's wacky chord choice, we get a different wacky chord that leans more fusion. Another slash chord, in this case A over B, which is way out of the key, but it works because it still makes sense with the melody note, and damn, A over B is one hell of a way to get to A flat minor. From here on out, the song changes up the structure and melody in big ways, so comparison will be minimal. The next part abandons the original's harmony, going from a A-flat major chord directly to an extended A-flat minor 9 chord, then to another chord from A-flat minor, D-flat minor, then a chord that could either be from major or minor, and A-flat sus2, and then returns to our substitute for the 5 chord, the D-flat over E-flat chord. But, instead of resolving to A-flat, we are blindsided with the chord so bright you'd need to wear sunglasses before hearing it. Zelda's Lullaby screams in over a ridiculous B add 2 over F sharp chord. Or if you want to be snooty and proper, it's technically a C flat add 2 over G flat because we're in A flat. That being said, analyzing this part as a chord feels wrong. I think the point of this chord is to more be a modal vibe that fits the melody rather than a functional part of a progression. We then step down to a E6 sus2, which is more or less the same vibe as before, but over an E natural bass note. Now, where does this go? Why, shredding guitar over C minor, of course. What? No, I can explain. This C minor starts an insanely colorful descending progression from C minor 7 to B major 7 add 13 to B flat minor 7 add 11, and hey, whoa. B flat, that's our 2 chord in the original key. And like many good 2 chords, this one goes to a 5, which resolves cleanly to a 1. Then we get a reference to Hyrule Field over a tonic bass pedal, and one last blast of fusion with this ridiculous D over A chord, and we loop. What a reimagining. This last part of the video has some spoilers for Mother 3. Though if you already know some stuff about the game and the character of Lucas, then there's a good chance you may already know this particular spoiler. But if you really want to go into Mother 3 blind, then thanks for watching and enjoy Mother 3. It's an amazing game. This song plays when Flint, Lucas and his brother Klaus's father, receives the news that his wife was found dead after a chaotic search. And Flint just loses it in a legitimately hard to watch but really well animated scene. And these first couple chords combined with the context just make me want to cry. It manages to capture the feeling of hearing about loss of a loved one so succinctly. The sadness, the anger, and of course, the confusion. For a while, I didn't even want to analyze these chords because I thought analysis might kill the effect that they had on me. But I want to use these chords at some point, so here we go. You'll see I have these chords labeled as 6 sus2 chords. But at least to me, that's not what they really are. They're stacks of fifths. Stacked fifths, or sometimes called quintal harmony, have a very open and ambiguous sound, not belonging to major or minor. Moving that exact chord down a whole step in constant structure, combined with the sound of the stacked fifths, gives a really stark and sort of cold feeling to me. And those chromatic grace notes in the high register of the piano just sound like a heart cracking and shattering. And then there's this part, which just feels like the whirlwind of emotions and confusion that comes with the news of loss, and these chords sure are a confusing whirlwind. This chord, which you'll see I have labeled as a B flat 7 flat 5, to me isn't really that, it's more 2 pairs of tritones a whole step apart. And then there's these 2 augmented chords in the top 3 voices that move up in constant structure from an A flat augmented to a G flat augmented, while the bass plays an A flat then a C. This C actually plays double duty, both giving us even more tritone crunch under this G flat augmented chord, but also gives us a very nice 5-to-1 in the bass when this all resolves to F major 7. These augmented chords really give a feeling of dissonant confusion. And again, use of constant structure has a very raw and stark feeling. The next section hammers on a heartbreaking sharp 11th over the F major chord. Wait a sec. The melody hammers on the major 7th as well as the heartbreaking sharp 11th. And it just kills me every time I hear it. Huh. After a long and colorful 2 bars of F Lydian sounding stuff, we are blindsided by an E minor 9. That minor 9, F sharp, being way out of the key of F Lydian or C major. Hey, wait, hold. F major to E minor. Oh, beautiful to me. The A section is just F major 7 to E minor 7, 4 and 3. Huh. I think the way that Relic Forest and Confusion handle this progression differently is really interesting. The slower harmonic rhythm of Confusion makes that E minor chord come as more of a surprise and a shock to what we thought was an F tonic. And putting the minor 9 on top to add some crazy out-of-key color makes it feel very different from the relaxing and bittersweet feel of Relic Forest, while also distancing us from feeling this as a 4-3 in C major. Though, as we'll see later in the piece, it actually is a 4-3 in C major. If this part of Confusion sounds familiar to another Forest song from a video game that isn't Relic Forest, that's because it is. This progression is almost the exact same as the one used in Secret of the Forest from Chrono Trigger. But I'd argue the solo piano arrangement and slower tempo gives it a much more tragic feeling rather than the more mystical feeling of Secret of the Forest. This song ends with a nice 2-5-1 to C major, confirming that the F major and E minor were actually just wacky 4 and 3 chords. Before launching us right back into the sadness of the F major 7 sharp 11. This song, paired with this moment of the game, is definitely one of the most memorable gaming music moments for me. Thanks for watching.